Have you ever been working on a project to suddenly realize important things were forgotten, or maybe certain people hadn't been included? Or maybe you caught yourself wondering, where do projects come from and how do they get started? You're probably thinking about project initiation. My name is Rob, and I am a pure instructor and pure project manager, and I've been in project management for most of my career. In this video, we're going to talk about initiation, which is typically the first step that a project goes through. We're going to define what that is, we're going to explain why it matters, and then we're going to walk through some key steps that help us as project managers get a project off the ground. So, let's jump in and learn about project initiation. Project initiation is the first step in a project. It's where people come together to ask themselves, what do we need to get done, and how can we get a project going? And more importantly, is this project worth pursuing? Many times we might come up with ideas for projects that aren't really needed, or maybe the idea isn't strong enough, or maybe it's not worth the investment. Initiation is where we can help answer a lot of these questions and make for a stronger project, or even make a decision not to pursue something as a project. Initiation lets us do things like define the project's purpose and its goals. Why are we doing this project? Are we doing it to find more customers? To make our house a nicer place to live? And what are the specific goals? To expand our market, to sell in new areas, or to redecorate the living room? Regardless, initiation helps us answer those. And those questions are important because they will guide the rest of the project if we choose to pursue it. In initiation, we're also going to want to identify key stakeholders. These are individuals or groups who are impacted by or interested in our project. These might include sales executives, or our customers, or maybe even our family members if we're looking at redecorating the house. And initiation typically ends with an approval to move forward and begin the next phase of our project. Typically, as project managers, we can't decide to go forward with the project. We have to present our case. We have to prove to someone else who has the budget or the authority to do the project. And that's where initiation helps. We might present to sales leadership about our idea to expand to new marketplaces. Or maybe we'll talk with our partner or our family about changing the layout of the house in some way. Another way to think of this, and something that might be more personal, is something like a road trip. Before we get in the car and start driving, we really should figure out, where do we want to go? What are we going to do along the way? How will we get there, and who's going to come with us? These questions are important to have a successful road trip or vacation, and we ask ourselves similar questions for bigger projects. Now, there are some key steps that happen in initiation. There are things like defining the goals of the project. As I briefly mentioned earlier, that will try to figure out what problem do we want to solve, and what is the end result. Maybe our company has noticed we aren't selling as many widgets to certain customer groups, and we would like to change that. And our end result will be a 5% improvement in sales. Or maybe we've realized that we just don't like our living room, and our end result will be spending more time in it. Regardless, we want to figure out what's the goal of the project and clearly understand that. Because if we don't understand the goal, any planning we do might change or might not actually be what we need because we don't know what we're trying to do. Figuring out who the stakeholders are is important. And again, these are the people who would care about the project or be impacted by it. In our sales and home example, that would be the sales leadership and our family members. Our next step is to look at a business case, to write down an argument for doing that project. For our sales example, we would want to convince people to invest time and money in expanding our market, and whatever that includes, having billboards or advertisements or training people. We need to convince someone to give us a budget to go do that, or convince someone to give us their team to help make it happen. In the case of our living room improvement, we might have to consider things like, how much time will this take and how disruptive will it be in our lives? And then convince our family that it's worth not being able to watch TV for a few days while we get a better couch. Now, the business case also includes things like the benefits. By expanding into this market and spending all of this money and time, we're going to get more sales or have happier customers. And by disrupting the living room for a few days, we're going to get a more comfortable couch and a nicer TV, so we'll be able to enjoy movie night there. During initiation, we also build out what's called a project charter. This is a quick document that is kind of like the permission slip for the project. It will include specific information like the scope, what the project will or won't do, key individuals or stakeholders who are involved, and a high-level plan. This is something that an executive would typically sign off on, and they would take a look at it and say, yes, I think this is a good idea, and I entrust you, the project manager and project team, to go do it. Other things you might find in here include things like objectives. What is the project trying to do? Any high-level risks we can think of, and any constraints. In the example of our sales team, high-level risks might mean our competitors could get to the market before us. And in the example of our living room, a constraint might be the room is only so big, we can't fit that ultra-wide television that we really want to get. Now, the end of initiation is typically getting approval and funding. This is where an executive or someone who has that authority gives the project money. And this means your leadership, your customers, and etc. give you the thumbs up or the green light to move forward. In our sales example, this could be the head of sales telling you, yes, you can go forward. And in the example of our living room, this could be our family saying, yes, we love this idea, let's go get started. Now, like every part of a project, there are some common mistakes that tend to pop up in initiation. One of them is not spending enough time to figure out your objectives. Now, this seems kind of silly because, of course, we know what the objectives for the project are. However, if we don't take enough time to clearly articulate what we need the project to do and why, this can make other stages a lot harder. So the more time we spend up front understanding what needs to happen, the better the project will go. Another common mistake is not including the right stakeholders. We want to make sure that the people who will be impacted by it or have interest are included in this stage, because they're going to want to have a say. In our sales example, this would mean going to the sales team and asking them for feedback and input. In the case of our living room, we'd want to make sure we talk to our spouse or our loved ones before we start disrupting their lives. We also want to be careful about estimating how much time or money something might take here. It doesn't have to be exact, but we do want to give our stakeholders a good estimate of how much we think this will cost and how long it will take. This helps avoid some surprises later when we have to go back and ask for more time or money. And another common thing that happens is teams will simply not document things. This can be dangerous because it means the team doesn't have anything to go look at to make sure they know they're on track. So please make sure that you're documenting any decisions that your team makes, the charter that everyone has agreed on, and documenting everyone's agreement on what you all want to do. At least this way, if something does come up, you can go back and try and figure out what happened. Because yes, the sales team did agree to this, but now they changed their mind. Or yes, our family said that this new couch is okay. What happened and why do we need a different one now? So that is project initiation. It is the start of every project and helps ensure that projects have a clear path and vision forward. So I'm really curious to hear though, what kind of project initiation process have you been through? How do you start up your projects to make sure they're ready for success? Share it down in the comments and we'll be happy to share our own stories and hopefully help you avoid some pitfalls with it as well. So thank you for learning a bit about project initiation. I really hope you enjoyed this. There's a ton more to learn about project management. So please make sure you like and subscribe and keep coming back to the channel for more. We're going to keep putting out more great content and I really look forward to seeing you in a Pure course soon.